Okay, let's dive into this. We've all seen those store closing signs popping up, and it's so easy to just blame it on the internet or, changing shopping habits. But what if I told you there's a whole other story, a kind of hidden financial engine humming away behind the scenes? Well, today, we're going to pull back that curtain. So let's just start with a number, 500. Just let that sink in for a second. It's a huge number, and it represents something very, very real that's happening on streets all over the country. Yeah, that's right. 500 Walgreens stores. I mean, we're not talking about some small niche boutique here. This is Walgreens. It's a cornerstone in so many neighborhoods. It's a place millions of us rely on. So seeing a number like that attached to a name like Walgreens, it's pretty jarring. It really makes you stop and think, doesn't it? How does a household name like this, suddenly find itself in so much trouble? The easy answers don't quite add up. So let's get into what's really going on. You see, these closures, as shocking as they aren't the actual problem. They're just the symptom. They're like the tip of the iceberg that we can all see. Because way down below the surface, a lot of these big, familiar companies are trapped inside this kind of hidden financial pressure cooker. It was set up years ago, and now somebody has just cranked the heat all the way up. So what is this pressure cooker? Well, you can think of it as a machine, a debt-on-debt machine that's been quietly running in the background of our economy. Let's really break down how this thing works. Okay, so stay with me here, because it's a bit of a shell game. It starts when an investment fund borrows a whole bunch of money to buy a company, let's say a big retail chain. But then, and this is the absolute key, they force the company they just bought to take out its own set of new, massive loans. Now, that new loan money, it doesn't go to new products or hiring people. Nope. It's immediately used to pay back the investment fund for the money they borrowed. So the fund is now paid off, maybe even takes a huge profit for themselves, and the company is left buried under a mountain of new debt. Now, this whole maneuver, it actually has a name. It's called a leveraged buyout, or LBO for short. And that word leveraged, that's just a fancy Wall Street way of saying using borrowed money. A lot of borrowed money. To make this crystal clear, think about it like this. Imagine someone borrows money to buy your house. Then, after they own it, they force you to go to the bank and take out a massive second mortgage. And then they take that mortgage money to pay off their original loan. It's wild, right? They get their money back, but now you're the one stuck with two mortgages. That's pretty much what's happening to these companies. And this is what we're calling the debt loop. The company is completely trapped. It's essentially using debt to pay for the cost of its own acquisition, and none of that money ever helps the actual business. Now, for a long, long time, this whole system kinda worked, or at least it didn't completely blow up. Why? Well, because borrowing money was ridiculously cheap. But that has all changed, dramatically. A massive catalyst has just been tossed right into the machine. I mean, just look at this jump. It is staggering. For years, interest rates were hanging out near zero, barely anything. That made the payments on that mountain of debt, well, manageable. But now, we've gone from almost nothing to over 5% in a blink of an eye. That's a seismic shock to the financial system. For any company that's caught in that debt loop, this spike isn't just some number on a screen. It's a brutal, painful reality check. The cheap money that was keeping the whole thing afloat, it's just gone. And the difference is truly night and day. On one side, in that old, low-rate world, a company could handle its debt payments and still have cash left over to, invest and grow. But in this new, high-rate world, those exact same debt payments have just skyrocketed. They become this deadly weight, a financial black hole that just sucks up all the company's cash and suffocates the actual business. Okay, so let's tie this all together. We have the mechanism, right, the debt loop, and we have the catalyst, the interest rate shock. Now we have to look at the consequence, the real-world price we all end up paying. So here's the bottom line. When every single dollar your business makes is being funneled into just paying the interest on your debt, you have to find that cash somewhere. The business, serving customers, innovating, it all becomes secondary. The number one priority becomes feeding that debt machine. And that means cuts, deep, painful cuts. And this is where it stops being about finance and starts being about our lives. This stuff leads to mass layoffs. It's the reason stores in our town suddenly go dark. It's why customer service gets worse, why things look run down. There's just no money left for people or for upkeep. The companies we grew up with, they stop growing and start shrinking, all because they're financially drowning. Which brings us right back to where we started, those 500 Walgreens closures. This isn't just about a tough economy. It is a direct and, frankly, predictable result of a company trapped in this very debt loop, getting squeezed by suddenly expensive debt. And that leaves us with one last, really big question to think about. Walgreens is just one story we know about. The next time you see that going out of business sign on a store you've known your whole life, just ask yourself, is the business actually failing, or is it being drained by a hidden debt loop? How many other household names out there are caught in this exact same trap right now?